Hey everybody, thanks so much for joining me and coming to my webpage. These videos are just designed to help you take one step closer to your dream life or your self-mastery or just where you're headed in life. There's no charge for these at all. I'm just glad to be able to be maybe one little voice in your life helping you. And so I just take things that I use as I'm coaching individuals or coaching, I get the opportunity to coach individuals and businesses. And so I just take some little nuggets and thoughts from some of that I do and just share with you. So today I want to talk just real quick about self-sabotage, and I'm going to try to do it in a wide spectrum where you could relate it to your organization or your personal life. And so I want to just talk about some self-sabotage traits that we should avoid. So let me just talk to you about that, because most of the time I love hearing coaches say something like this, let's not beat ourselves today. And so it really doesn't matter who the opponent is as long as we don't beat ourselves. And when I'm working with people, when we first start off, I see a lot of people, a lot of organizations that are kind of fighting against themselves. And so I teach on the 4 steps of the ladder to get to your dream life. And this would probably be a little sub-teaching under the whole mindset rung, which is rung number 3. But let me just give you some self-sabotage thoughts today. Again, this isn't necessarily a thorough, exhaustive teaching, but just some things to kind of prime the pump, as I like to say. Number 1, I think when we have a poor understanding of people. In other words, I think that when people are rude or mean or hurtful, we have to remember that hurting people hurt people. And not to be threatened by another personality type. You know, there's all kind of personality studies, and this is a terrible oversimplification, but there's basically 4 personality types and a mixture of all of those. Here's all I'm saying, is that if we only can get along with the people in our personality group or type, man, we are, and don't understand the other groups and try to work with them, we are cutting ourselves off from so many gifts and so much more input. I heard somebody one time say, well, I'm a self-made man. Well, I didn't say it, but I thought it. I thought, well, you're not much. Because we're all an accumulation of the different people and giftings and personalities in our life. So don't shut people out of your life. Include people in your life. I think, by the way, when we do life alone, we get a little weird. Have you ever seen the contestant on the shows, like those contests like American Idol, and I remember the judges would say, why are you here? And one of the contestants would answer, because I'm going to be the next American Idol. And they would sing, and it was absolutely terrible. And people are booing them, and it's terrible. And my first thought is, where are their friends? Don't they have somebody that could have saved them the humiliation and the embarrassment in their life? So I just encourage you, don't self-sabotage by thinking or believing only in your own press. Get some people around you and begin to understand them. Find the key to their life. Talk their language. Give encouragement. Show them the benefits of doing life together. If you're a business owner, know your customer. If you're an employee, know your boss. Know your team. Know yourself. All right? Self-sabotage number 2 is when we blame others. See, when we blame others, here's what happens. We continue to be a victim in the prison of being a victim, and we allow someone else to hold the key. I just would encourage you, don't give people that much power over your life. Don't blame the boss for a bad day or your spouse for a bad day. Listen, we go through things in life, but you still have the power to choose how you're going to go through your day. And so don't blame others. Don't give them that much power in your life. Now, I know some of you might be listening and say, but Ken, you have no idea my background or what I came out of. And I would agree, I don't. But I know that I came from a pretty tough background. And there had to be a time and a line in the sand that I drew and said, it's no longer about what happened to me. I choose to decide what it's going to do in me. So I refuse to blame anyone else. I'm going to take ownership of my life. I am the painter on the canvas of my life. I'm the writer of my own life story. Now, there might be some characters come in here and there, but I get to frame what I'm going to do with those characters that come in to my life. Number 3 is, I would say, self-sabotage. Number 3 is basically just a lack of vision or a lack of focus. And this goes back to just knowing your values. Get focused on your values. And when you get focused on your values, it begins to form your identity. And then you build habits out of who you are, not out of behavioral modification. So just get focused. Say no to some things so you can say yes to the most important things. It's why it's important to have your values in front of you and your goals in front of you so you can focus. I say it this way a lot. You have to minimize so that you can maximize. Quit multitasking. There's some simple things you can multitask, but just get laser focused in your area, in the area that you want to grow in. I would say self-sabotage number 5, or whatever number I'm on, is surrounding yourself with negative people. You got to get around. You have to be in the room where you're not the smartest one in the room all the time. If you're always the smartest one in every room you're in, you need to change rooms. You need to get in some rooms where people think bigger. They are bigger. They're not intimidated by you. And they'll help you go to a whole nother level in life. Self-sabotage, I think another one would be refusing to take some risks in life. And calculated, but Charles Lindbergh, he said this: what kind of man would live where there is no daring? Wow. I don't believe in taking foolish chances, but nothing can be accomplished if we don't take any chance at all. Man, I love that. I would add this: you can't steal second with your foot on first. And just swing. I remember one time I was doing a multi-million-dollar building program on a building complex with 13 buildings. And I remember the night before I had to sign the papers to dive into this, I was scared. I was fearful of failure, and I decided right then, I'm taking the risk, because I would rather attempt to do it and fail than for the rest of my life look backwards and wonder what might have happened. In other words, swing at the ball, man, and don't stand there and take a strikeout. Let me see. Let me give you one more. I think another self-sabotage trait would be undisciplined living. I love Coach Vince Lombardi, and one of the greatest coaches of all times. He said this: I've never known a man worth his salt who in the long run, deep down in his heart, didn't appreciate the grind and the discipline. I firmly believe that any man's finest hour, this greatest fulfillment to all that he holds dear, is the moment when he has worked his heart out in a good cause and lies exhausted on the field of battle victorious. Wow, I love that. An undisciplined man is kind of like an octopus on roller skates. There's a lot of activity, but I'm not focused or disciplined to where I'm going. Talent really isn't enough. Disciplines help create habits, and so we need to combine our talents, our giftings, with some disciplines. And so undisciplined living has some cost. Disciplined living has some cost. It's just you have to determine what cost you're willing to pay. Let me just do one more. Just take me another couple minutes. Let me give you this one. I think self-sabotage sometimes happens when we allow failure to stop us. What do you do when you fail? Man, I'm going to tell you, most of the lessons that I'll share with you stem from some kind of detour or failure in my life. And I just refuse to call them failures as long as I can learn something from the failure. So what do you do in a failure, or what do you do in a challenging time? Here's something that I do that really helps me, and this is going to sound a little cliche, but I really believe in the principle. What is the opportunity here? Well, in this challenging time, in this failing time, in this mess up time, what's my opportunity? What good is there in this? What can I learn from it? And how can that catapult me into a whole nother level? In other words, what did I learn from the failure? I don't think it's a failure if we learn something and we get up and we keep going. I think it's a failure is if we lay down and we quit fighting. So don't let failure stop you. And let me give you a couple remedies to that. Being stopped by failure, just lighten up. Look for the win. Consider the good things you're doing in life, all right? So focus on the possibilities, not the liabilities. Well, these are just a few more. I hope they helped you today. Don't self-sabotage. Rule number 1 is don't beat yourself. You're a champion. You're a winner. Go reach those goals. Thanks for listening.